I'm William Gunn. I am the head of academic outreach for Mendeley, which is a network of researchers that helps them write papers, share research, and I'm going to talk about creating a reproducibility culture. Some estimates put the amount of irreproducible research at 80%. So all the things people are building treatments and therapies on, it turns out to be, frankly, just essentially spurious results. The intense pressure academics feel to publish all the time for their careers, this publish or perish thing, has given us a real problem essentially finding out what is the real useful data that you want to build your drug discovery program or your therapy or intervention on. Because obviously if you want to come up with a treatment that's going to work for patients, you have to have something that's built from a solid foundation and not from something that's, well, basically just, rotten or irreproducible. And so some people say that the literature, self-corrects, and this really isn't a problem, but in fact, when you go through and you look at what actually can be reproduced, it doesn't matter how many times people have reported the result or not. So the literature is not correcting itself. But the good news is that things that are reproducible tend to be really robust, and so they'll go from cell culture, they'll go to animal models, they'll go to human patients, and transfer really, really well across those things if they do reproduce. So that's the good news. To fix this, Science Exchange, which is a network of core facilities, PLOS, which is a publisher, open access, Figshare, which is a data repository, and Mendeley, which is the scientific network, have launched the Reproducibility Initiative to address these problems. And the Reproducibility Initiative basically gives you a stamp of, you opt into the initiative, say, my work is really, really good, I want it to be reproduced, and you get a stamp saying this is high quality stuff, or I assert that this is high quality stuff. The way it works basically is you say, this is my research, I think is really, really good, and the advisory board will go through and they'll select the studies out of that and match them to service providers blindly. And then we will see if, did that work reproduce? We had to put 5 different things into place to make this whole thing work. Obviously, one of the most important things that we had to get together was really getting the buy-in from the researchers that this is a good thing, something that they need to do. And I'm happy to say that we got pretty good buy-in from the researchers, actually. On both sides of the aisle, we got people from academia and industry, and especially good down at the bottom there. We pissed off the right people, too. So I think we're on the right track with this. That's a publisher, by the way. Critically important, of course, is the advisory board, because these guys are the ones that are going to be vetting the research and making sure everything worked really well. And so it's very good news that we were able to get a really good advisory board set up. Our advisory board has really thought leaders in reproducibility from academia, from industry, from government, people like John Juanitas, Brian Nosek, and Bernard Munoz, and really, some great experts in the field. The core facilities is the third really, really important part. These are people that provide science basically for hire. They're outside of the incentive structure that's causing a lot of the problems. And so, again, we've been able to put together, through Science Exchange's network, there's over 1,000 core facilities that signed up to be a part of this and to offer their services. And there's some really great academic organizations, both in industry as well as academic. We want people to want to be part of this. We want them to opt in, so we want to provide them some incentives for essentially rewarding good behavior instead of punishing bad like they do with retractions nowadays. And so the incentives that people get is, since the work was done under contract, they retain all the rights. They can publish that reproduction in PLOS. They get the acknowledgement, and the article level stats will be tracked on Mendeley and in online repositories. And so the most important thing is that we had to get make sure that the public was really behind this, that they thought we were on the right track, because they're the ones that are really affected most strongly by, the failure of drugs to be come out as quick as we'd like. And so we got a tremendously great response, not just from niche publications in science like Nature, but also, more mainstream things like Forbes, where people think that this might actually work, that we're taking a really new, novel direction. So if you want to hear anything more about that, get in touch with us at the Reproducibility Initiative.
So Bastian has a question, which actually looks pretty good. The problem with reproducibility is that if you're using the wrong fundamental method, if you're doing survey and the survey is not a valid way to do that, and you reproduce a survey that shows the same invalid results, how do you address that?
Well, I mean, we can't fix people asking the wrong questions to begin with, right? But since it's the whole premise of this is that it's opt-in, people are offering up their work saying this is the stuff I think is really, really good, that it's at least, going to cut out a lot of the irreproducible random bias that makes up the majority of the problem of the irreproducibility that people are trying to base drugs and discoveries on.
And since I had my own question anyways, I was just wondering if you could comment on how this ties into, or if you'll ever kind of bridge over into the kind of lack of negative results in papers. How does that play out?
Yeah, I think this is exactly addressed to target that. So PLOS, for example, is one of the publishers that has opened their doors essentially to negative results. The reason people don't publish that is because they traditionally can't publish it, right? And academics want to publish. And so the whole idea of this is to shift the incentives away from just getting a publication out there somewhere that will take it to having like the stamp of approval that, yeah, you've did a really good job. So it's changing the whole incentive system so that negative data publishing is not a problem anymore.